Hello, you sexy pipe smokers out there. Piping Piper here, trying out some new snowshoes. Had some family come to visit the new house today. They brought with them Christmas presents. And among the presents, snowshoes. These are Guide Gear, is it Top Hill? High Pass. Guide Gear, High Pass snowshoes, and never used these before. My understanding was that it was to help keep you from sinking in the snow. Either I'm a fat ass or that was a lie. What I am noticing with these snowshoes is that because of how wide they are, it does keep the snow out of the shoes you are wearing. Well, that's a plus. I thought I would take these for a stroll, check on the chickens. The company we had didn't stay as long as we thought they were going to, so time to kill and things to do. And from what I'm told, this is supposed to be some really good exercise. And considering the lack of exercise I've been getting lately, might be a good way to get a little bit of cardio in. So far, not that bad. Okay, so there seems to be a rhythm with these things. I feel like I'm kind of getting the hang of it now. They feel cumbersome at first, but definitely use different muscles in the legs, so probably gonna be a little sore tomorrow. Not as easy as it looks in the movies. This is why everybody here has snowmobiles. Starting to get it now. Only squirrels would cause this much, I wouldn't say damage, create this big of a mess. What is this? Yep, chewing up pine cones. That tree is going to be a problem. It's those red-headed woodpeckers we have around here. So I'm going to have to cut that down at some point. Maybe before spring. Maybe. I don't know. Could try to wait to see if there's like some big storm or something that goes through. Maybe finish the top of that off. So, on a side note, totally going off subject of these snowshoes, I've been seeing a lot of videos lately, at least on the channels I watch, of people discussing the Great Reset. And Canadian Prepper had a nice video, I think it was posted yesterday, about how to prosper during such an event. And I agree with him on some stuff. I don't agree with him on other stuff. I think the biggest issue I had with what he was saying was he was talking about how some preppers or survivalists or whatever it is you want to go by have this knack of thinking that I'm going to go off into the woods, I'm going to get my cabin, go off the grid, pay my taxes to the man and just leave me alone. And then, of course, he was adding how, the plan is to do that until you're old and die. And if you're lucky, you die broke. I don't understand why that's like the only other option. Snowmobiles are starting to go through again. Seems to be one of the favorite pastimes around here this time of year. Once you can't shoot a deer, you might as well ride a snowmobile. So, is that what I'm doing? Moving out in the middle of nowhere and leave me alone. Hopefully I die poor on my property. Just let me do that. No. I don't understand why if you buy a piece of land and you decide that you're going to stay there, enjoy yourself while you can, why that has to mean that you're also not able to make a living, have some income, or do fairly well at it. There's some fresh deer tracks. These are like really fresh. I'm saying probably this morning. Not that it matters, deer season's over. Lucky bastards. So, there's a author who's actually, during his time, better known than Ernest Hemingway. This was Louis Bromfield. Wrote several books. Spent time in India. When For Whom the Bell Tolls was released, Bromfield had one of his own books that came out, I think it was the week before. So they're basically competing on the shelves at the same time. Outsold Hemingway. And Hemingway was not too happy about that. So Bromfield was ahead of the curve and realized that there was something wrong with farming, agriculture. He grew up on a farm, saw the world, saw how other places farmed, produced food. Took a good chunk of his money and bought a farm in Ohio. And he took a lot of those practices that he saw in those other places, decided that he was going to try it here. Of course, today we call it organic farming or permaculture, regenerative agriculture, because it turned out that the soil and the land that he bought, not exactly the best. So it took a lot of time to get things up and running, and he was really bad at making a profit on this farm. But, yeah, he did the best that he could. He continued writing, and the farm is now, I believe it was handed over to a historical society, and it's still there today. Now that's what he did. That's not what I'm planning on doing. For one, he's a famous writer. Had several of his books turned into movies. Some of the stuff I want to write, I don't even think Amazon would publish at this point. But that's one goal I have is, it's one thing to have a farm and get it up and running, but it's got to be profitable. You have to run it like a business. If you're growing something that is not bringing you a return, probably shouldn't be growing it. And that's one thing I like about this area is that the style of farming, even the big farms that are up here, and I'm talking like several hundred acres, they're not messing around with artificial fertilizers and pesticides and stuff like that. They are doing manure spreading. I'd almost call it compost tea. I did see one farm where they're taking the actual physical manure, and they had, it was like this cart that was pulled behind the tractor, and it would like toss or scatter it over the field. And that is not something I saw where I came from. So obviously we don't have cows, and I'm going to be starting from scratch. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be able to do comes from these woods back here. You know, finding rotting logs for carbon adding to the soil, raking up leaves. In some cases, I'll be pulling out new fresh topsoil from a lot of the creeks around here. Clean those up so that when they're blowing the beaver dams in the spring and the water starts flowing through these things again, I'm able to get a lot of that water in here and help out a lot of the vegetation in this area. There was a video I found of a Polish couple. The guy, I can't remember if it was after high school or college, just decided that he wanted to live on a organic farm, one that he created, and got married, and they bought a couple acres, and the area around the house is where they have the garden, and all the compost and nutrients that they get is either recycled from the plants that they grow and break down every year, or they, I can't tell if that's a rabbit or not, I don't know. Or they take stuff out of the woods that's already breaking down, and they throw that in the compost bin and go from there. So that was another idea I had. We've got several more acres than they did, so it shouldn't be too difficult for me to get workable material out of these forests and into the field. It's probably more work than most people would want to do, but nothing worth doing ever comes easy. So I still love the quiet. I can hear the highway from here. It's several miles away. Still, inside the house, you hear absolutely nothing. I was able to hear the hum of the snowmobiles. And Zoe finally got to see them for the first time. And that's something that I'm becoming more excited about. Getting involved in the culture around here. Seeing what the locals do. What I want to do. And the type of farm that I want to do is not primarily what a lot of people are. I found one house where I think the guy, he was an older guy, he was like in his 50s or 60s, and he had a sign in front of his house that said, chicken eggs for sale. And while I was there, noticed he had a couple dozen chickens. And then, because his property was on a couple of hills, he had these raised bed gardens that were in levels along the side of the hill, and a good sized fence around it to keep the deer out, which I know that is going to be an issue. But I did see where I found a couple of videos where people were using fishing line to keep the deer out. And that's all that it takes. Of course, I also have to worry about rabbits and raccoons and whatnot. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm working on these days. Is planning that out, trying to get a good idea in my head as to what I'm doing, what I will be doing, how to make it work, how to make it successful. So, I know the wife she's been talking about farmers markets and stuff, but I think overall we just need to figure out like how much we can actually grow here. What does grow here? What is it that people want to buy around here? And these are all questions that we don't have too many answers to at the moment. So year one is pretty much going to be an experiment as to what can be accomplished and where we go from there. Snowshoes. I'm liking them. It's not that bad. And I was able to get to the middle of the property fairly easy. I have a feeling these won't work all that well if I was to go into the actual woods. All the sticks and whatnot. It's a good way to travel. It's a hell of a lot better than going through this stuff. That's from the last 2 or 3 days. It's no fun trying to get through this while wearing boots, sliding all over the place, trying to make sure you use the previous footsteps that you used before. This is a lot better. I'm pretty happy these were brought over. If memory serves me, I've got 2 bottles of Bell's Oktoberfest in the fridge. So I think I'm going to go home and enjoy those. In the meantime, keep on typing.